Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. I'm excited to be attending and recording shows at Rainmaker 2016. You can join keynote speaker Gary Vaynerchuk along with modern revenue leaders at the only conference dedicated to the sales development industry, March 7th to 9th in Atlanta. Get tickets now to receive cutting-edge sales content from thought leaders, learn best practices during breakout sessions, and come network with the world's top sales influencers. If you use the promo code BTFS and the number 30, you'll get 30% off. More information is on the show website at buildingthefutureshow.com. I'm also going to be at the Business Rocks Tech, Music, and Investment Summit recording shows live in Manchester, England, April 21st and 22nd, where Steve Wozniak is headlining. More information about the summit is on the show website at buildingthefutureshow.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Marco Camisani Calzolari. He's an entrepreneur, author, mentor, and CEO at MegaShouts.org. Marco, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I love talking to people all across the globe and whatnot, but maybe kind of before we get into what you're doing, maybe let's cover kind of your background and where you grew up.
Yeah. So I was born in Milan and raised in Italy. Now I've moved to London and I've lived here for 7 years now.
Okay.
And at the age of, so I've spent most of my life in Milan.
Okay.
And at the age of 8, I had the passion of electronics, with my solders, with my circuit, very young, because I was attracted because my grandfather was an engineer, an electronic engineer, and he transferred to me all this passion.
Oh, very cool.
And finally, when I was 10, 11, and it was the 1981, so I was born in the 1969.
Okay.
I had a meeting with my first computer. It was a Commodore C64.
Sure.
And or the Big 20, actually. And I have started programming it because at the beginning, at that age, it was just a game console. It was just that, for most of the people, because most of people now at my age had the Commodore 64, but it was just a game console.
Sure.
But it was possible to be programmed, and I was very attracted by programming and not by the games. And nowadays as well, I'm not attracted by video games. In fact, I have a 12 years old son that is always on video games, and I don't play with him because I don't like it. I like to program a machine and transforming it, hacking it in some way.
Sure.
And that was the beginning of everything.
Sure. So do you still program, just out of curiosity?
Well, I've been a programmer for a few years, till 15 years ago.
Okay.
It was my job. It was my work. But
okay.
I don't program anymore. Anyway, I have still, of course, some knowledge. But and that's important because with that knowledge, you can have a good relationship with technicians, with programmers when you want a product, even if you are in communication and you have a different approach, a marketing approach, but you must speak that language as well. So if somebody says, wow, to change that comma in a point, we need 2 days of programming, I say, come on, it doesn't work like that. Maybe with some JavaScript, you can make a routine. Yes, but it's not a proper way. Yes, come on, but maybe that's the best way to put it online in a few minutes, and then you can change it more radically later, and I can speak the same language. That's very important for you.
No, that's awesome. So I'm curious, did you go to university then?
Yes, I studied at the beginning at the scientific college. It's a kind of Italian way to have a scientific college, very classic college.
Okay.
With mathematics and whatever. And then computer science in university. But it was many years ago. And at that age, especially in Italy, schools was different. So computer science and informatics was something very technical, maybe with COBOL and other programming languages like that.
Right.
I was very attracted with new languages, new way to communicate, because I like the communication. So I wasn't a good student, just because just because I was so attracted of something that wasn't still there at that age. Because I was in the middle of being a nerd with the glasses and whatever, and being a very communication guy with a little bit of success with girls. Of course, at that age was very important, and it wasn't easy because I had two different kind of friends. So the friends of the parties and typical things that you can do at the age of 14, 18. And on the other hand, I had these kind of friends, everybody on computer programming, very nerd, geeky, and that was my two. And they didn't find, any connection between them. It wasn't easy to combine, that tech
Sure.
and communication. I didn't know that it was communication. No, at that age, I didn't realize that I call it communication now, but at that age, it wasn't so clear to me. Now that what was my objective wasn't clear. And finally, in about 1993, in that age, when the first internet commercial offers came up into the market in Europe and in Italy as well, and everybody, of course, started using the internet. And just before, from the 1990 to the 1993, I've started with the first BBS, connecting with them and chatting and doing things in a kind of, a FidoNet. It was a way to connect all the BBS. It was a great connection. It was my life. I found my way because I found a perfect connection between communication and technology. And in fact, in 1994, around that age, that years, I've started my first job.
Okay.
I ended up working with this very famous Italian media entrepreneur of radio owner. His name was Claudio Cecchetto, very famous in Italy in that age. And I started working with him, and I had the opportunity. It was a genius, considered the genius in Italy because he's a very creative person with the power to do the things, the money to do things.
Sure.
And
so how did you connect with him?
Well, it was the friends of a friend.
Okay.
Nothing more than this. And but it wasn't easy to find somebody working in the internet at that time.
Right.
It was on the Minitel. It was a kind of technology provided by telcos in France and in Italy. It was like a mini Mac computer. It was like something like a Macintosh. The look was like a Macintosh. It was a tool provided by Telecom, and it was a way to use the internet and be connected like a BBS, but was provided by these local telcos. And it was interesting. He was interested in that. And he said, wow, now I have found the internet and I know nobody that can do something on the internet. Can we do this thing together? And the idea, his idea, was to create a kind of social network. He didn't know that was the name, it was
Sure.
like a community, something like this online. I've created in Perl, I remember,
Yeah.
With the first browser, Netscape, and before it was not Opera, it was.
I know what you're talking about. The name escapes me right now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
To me as well. Anyway, and with that first browser, and then with Netscape, and with the potentiality, of course, of the new features that day by day came up with HTML, with the Perl and whatever, I've created this kind of social network with a virtual currency inside. And it was very strange because people can chat. It was like, I don't want to, say or pretend to be one of the first inventor of ever. But anyway, we have created this kind of network with this currency, because the idea at the beginning, that's very interesting. The idea at the beginning, in that age, 1994, the idea was the most, the strange thing, the strange approach when somebody came the first time in front of the internet was, wow, is it all free? Because it wasn't normal at that time that content was free. Content was cost money. You can buy, yes, television, of course, and radio was free with advertising, but everything else you must be paid for it, of course. So it wasn't normal not to reach and have contents, news and whatever without without a cost. And so the idea was to let people pay for, not far from nowadays in some way. So let people pay for what they want to do, for example, chatting, reading something, so gaining money, and spend money when they do something that we want they do, like, for example, clicking on an advertising or something like this. That was the idea, but it wasn't a real currency like Bitcoin, whatever, because it was like a game. So at the end of every single month, everything was resetted, and everything starts again like a game, like a race, I don't know, something virtual like that. It was a great experience with him.
Well, that's awesome.
Everything started from that.
So you moved on from that. What did you kind of do after that?
I found this attitude to be an entrepreneur. I was in this environment with him, with the approach of an entrepreneur, and then in my family, my mother and my father was entrepreneurs as well, so it was in my soul. And I have created a new platform, and this platform name was Quick Wedding, and the Italian name was Matrimonio Online. This is the translation of Quick Wedding. Okay. And it was a tool to let people married online, to get married online.
Oh, so interesting.
It was funny, no? It was, of course, without any legal value.
Okay.
Because people can ask other people to get married with them. It was funny and it was very successful because most of the newspapers around Europe wrote about this, and I've sold these like an exit. Today we can call it exit, but at the time that wasn't a clear definition. For at the time, something like today, $1 million just to go back to the age, not to translate in the current currency and value nowadays. So with that money, I've started to do other companies, but unsuccessfully.
No, I think that's good though. I think that's kind of what I've been trying to promote too, is people, like, their successes and their failures, because I think a lot of people don't realize that people that have been successful still have failures, right? And I think that's important that you brought that up.
I know, because from the failure you can learn a lot, and that's very, very important. And
do you want to maybe cover a couple of things that you learned that were really valuable from a couple of your failures?
Of course, I think it's personal. Everybody, I think it's not possible to put this on a book, on a textbook for everybody, like some author usually do in the typical books that explain you how to succeed in life and whatever. I think it's very, very personal, because it's related on your personal failures and fails.
I couldn't agree more.
In my case, my errors was related to, it seems everything's too easy to me at the beginning. Okay. Because the first website was this Quick Wedding. I've sold it for 1 million. Everything was easy. I'm a great guy. I'm fantastic. I'm the number one, and I can do whatever I want. And I wasn't too much focused on of course, at that day when you're younger, it's very easy to fail in, because it's very easy to be distracted by other things. The first time you have some money in your pocket, you buy cars, you go outside, you do many things. And I wasn't focused enough. And I wasn't unlucky on the other hand, because it was the age between 2000 and 2004, exactly the bubble, the bubble age. So after the over-evaluation of the internet in the 2000s and 1999, that age, and everything's fall down exactly in the middle of my investments, I've created this radio, because my idea of a radio wasn't a radio, a live radio, but an on-demand radio, because everybody in the internet is on demand, because everybody can download whatever they want in the time they want, in the place they want, and whatever. But and I've spent a lot of money to create this content with very famous people from the radio, from the sports, from different areas in these industries. But at the end after 2 years, I had to close it down because not no users, because no investors and nobody was interested in the internet anymore. When in between 2000 and 2004, everybody was scared about the internet. You cannot say internet because it means failure, and everybody thought that it was just an hype and nothing important, and the rest. Then, as you know, as everybody know, it was the age of course, a great raising of the international worldwide users. And then Tim O'Reilly came up with the Web 2.0 definition in 2004 that describes exactly what was happening in the meantime. And everybody discovered that maybe the internet wasn't a successful thing, who knows, whatever, but a lot of many users came in the internet, and everything restarted in 2004. And I had to restart it from the scratch again. And I have created some other small companies and other ideas, and arriving, of course, to nowadays.
Sure. So you have a bunch of stuff going on. I'm kind of curious to know what you're working on now.
Well, I have many interests, and I don't want to stop anything, even if it's very heavy, of course, for my life, for my daily routine, because I'm always busy in between of all these things, because I write books and I like it, because I think it's very important to put on a book the concept that I acquired during my business life. And on the other hand, for example, one of my passion now is to transmit, I don't know if is the proper way to describe it, but to talk about technology, especially to people that are not yet in the internet. And there are in Europe, of course, we are less connected than in US, and we have especially the elders are not connected too much, and that's a pity, because it's a good age to use all this opportunity. For example, staying home and ordering food without going out, talking with nephews and whatever. But they don't understand it, just because they think they need some kind of knowledge, and it was like that till a few years ago. But now every single device has one button, just one button. So it's very easy to do this. So it's because I have to talk with their stomach and not with their brain, and I'm successful in that, and I like to do that social work in some way. And I do this in the main television channel in Italy, and in the main radio in Italy, so Rai 1, Rai Uno in Italy, and RTL 02.5, that are the two main media in Italy, and I'm very happy for that. I don't get too much money from that activities, of course, but it's a real passion. So, and I wrote books about that for businesses and for people to have a better approach about this. And the book is the perfect medium to transfer this knowledge, because they don't access the internet. So I cannot talk to them with my blog. I have to talk with them with a book. That's perfect. So this is an area, and I'm very happy. I like it so much, even if not much money comes from that area. But anyway, it's one of the most, for me, the most important. Then I'm an entrepreneur, so I run the different companies, but now I'm very concentrated in a specific area, that is the petitions, online activism, because I think that there is much to do on that. We are still in the past in some way, because, as you know, online petitions, without saying any specific name of any specific platform, but everybody knows how many platforms we have now around on petitions and activism, online activism. They are still hanged in the old approach. So the old approach is the signatures collections.
Yep.
Because everybody thinks that it has a legal value, but it doesn't have any legal value. So let's think about it. If it doesn't have any legal value, what's the value? The value is the value in terms of communication. So the approach is collecting many signatures and making some media effects, thanks to that numbers. That's the point. But I think that if this is the point, because they don't have any legal value, maybe we can reach that result in a different manner, in a different way. And because today, we have many tools to have and to reach a media, to get the media attention. And so I've invented these MegaShouts. The address is megashouts.org.
Okay.
It's always, of course, as we know, under construction, in the meaning that we are experimenting things, changing things. For example, in these hours, we are changing the interface with the mobile first, of course, because it was just a responsive interface and with not a good experience. Now, as you perfectly know, everything is moved on with a mobile first approach. So we have changed that, and because it's very important to do it in the proper way, of course, and mobile is so important. So we have aligned the old version, but in a few days we are gonna have the new one. And the thing is that there are many activities that you can automate. You can do automatically, because big groups can have access to VIPs. Big groups, I mean, like Greenpeace, for example.
Okay.
They have access to VIPs. They have access to maybe voluntaries that do things that you ask them. They maybe have access to funds. They have access to social media activities because they know how to do it, and they have people that works for them, maybe paid, maybe voluntary, that do things on the social network, on the Twitter, ask for retweets, and do many things good for the campaign objective. But a normal people or a smaller organization or just a smaller cause don't have this opportunity, because it's just, it's smaller, or maybe it's big because the cause or the objective is big, but the organization, it doesn't exist because it's a new issue, for example. And the MegaShouts approach is to give everybody some automation that can automate this process. So practically, when you enter, you'll find like a wizard process. You start, the first thing you do is tweet. Okay. Tweet to the target, because there is a decision maker that can receive a tweet from you. Of course, we don't spam him because we don't like it. Our approach is very polite, very legal, so we don't want to spam them. It's not like a bombing, okay? It's just to let him know that there are a lot of people that stands for this cause. And so we distinguish, we just send him one message per hour, so we just filter, of course, all the mass of messages. Then the next step is you have a list, as a user, you have a list of VIPs that are connected with our editorial team that connect people with causes and with, of course, topics, with some tags, with that causes. So you have the opportunity to tweet to single VIPs that are related to that specific cause. And there is something that normally you can't do in a normal petition platform. Then the next step is, of course, using all the other ways for free to spread the message, like sharing on WhatsApp, sharing on Telegram or Snapchat or anything you can. And then there is another area, very important area, that is, of course, everybody knows that you can do all these things for free. But if you can get the money, if somebody can give you the money to pay advertising, to promote all these things, is another way to reach the result. And we have a kind of crowdfunding platform inside, similar to other platforms like Kickstarter, the same system, that give causes the opportunity to get funds from people and finance directly advertising on Facebook, on Twitter, to increase the reach of the campaign.
Oh, very interesting.
And last, but not the least, and then finish to describe the platform. I'm sorry for the longest, but
it's good.
It's not easy to, of course, to tell it in few words. And the last part is that to influence the media, maybe you have to create some kind of actions, activities that are offline,
Okay,
physical,
interesting.
like flyers, posters, and other kinds of advertising, typical advertising, maybe some guerrilla marketing or whatever, everything legal, of course. And you can collect the money to do that as well, because maybe, especially decision makers, sometimes are a bit old, and they are more, they can recognize a problem when they see it on the street, and maybe not when they can measure the reach on a campaign, because they don't understand it properly.
Right.
So if something goes on the media, because it's more attractive for journalists as well, because for a newspaper or for a television, filming physical actions is has a different impact compared to an online number with 10,000 signatures. What does it mean? So that's what I'm doing. I'm very concentrated in this, and I'm very passionate, and I like it so much.
No, that's awesome. I think I love the kind of giving back to kind of the community and the world. I think that's super important. But I'm curious to know kind of, how do you guys monetize MegaShouts?
Yes. Thank you for the question. So the first part is very, very easy, and is to cut off the 20%, around 5% depends on the country, goes to the payment system like PayPal, for example.
Sure.
So we just retain the 15% actually in our pocket of the money invested for these crowdfunding campaigns. So this is the first way. And that's very interesting because, for example, if a brand wants to create something more effective to get the attention of the media, and they put, for example, they invest 10,000 euros, $10,000,
sure.
they know that we will keep only 1,500, for example, but all the rest will be invested on online campaigns, on activities. People can decide and choose what to do, where to put the money, and they can put the money as well. So they can transform that money in an effective thing instead of just using it in a different way. And we just manage that money, keeping all that, just that percentage. Another way to monetize is the same way, old way, all the other platforms do, even the big platforms. The most known platform in activism is giving, the clients. So it's a B2B business model, and they just collect users interested in a specific topic, and they, with a clear policy privacy, with a clear, fair relations with users, you tell them that specific signing and participating in that specific campaigns means giving their data to that specific company that will contact you for their marketing purposes. Like, for example, most of these companies are NGOs, so for getting money for their causes, or requesting, some subscribing to their association or something like this. These are the two main business models. There are smaller other business models, but I don't want to bore you too much.
No, I think it's interesting. So I'm curious to know how big your development team is.
Well, interesting. I've started with another company as well. The other company is named Speakage. It's still alive in 2004, exactly after the crisis, after my crisis, after that time where I've spent all the money in that investment, successful investments. And this is just a typical, if you want to say, a typical website production programming agency. Actually, we don't accept anymore all the typical corporate websites, everything based on the graphics, on the image. We don't accept that kind, because we are more focused on platforms production. So something that is behind the typical thing you can do with a ready-made CMS. For example, you cannot use WordPress to do something like, I don't know, a big community. I don't want to say Facebook, but of course you need a bespoke platform. And we don't have a normal, typical commercial activities. We just, attract clients because of our previous clients. And what Speakage do. And it's a very boring things compared to to MegaShouts. But the most important thing is that in this way, I have an experience, a daily experience, and a daily connection with the needs of the businesses and of the companies. And what the way I have created, the structure I have created to program and to produce is having my own team in Russia, but 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I founded this team, and with all Russians guys, are guys that work for us, are not hired, is not an hired team. So day by day, they do now, because they are part of the company. After 10 years, they do interviews for new people. It's just 10 people, not too many people. We are not big. But with these 10 programmers, we can do many, many things, especially because we have, it's pretty technical, but you perfectly come from that area. So everything is based on Zend, PHP, and that's our main area of programming. And they are very strong in this. So I use my team, that is Speakage team, so coming from that company, to develop these platforms. So
Sure.
It's very important having something that you can directly manage. It's not internal, but it's like if it was internal. And because the technical part of this communication platform is very important, because you can provide communication tools only thanks to the technology behind them. You cannot just provide that kind of communication without the proper interaction, without all the things you need, because you need, of course, a good user experience, you need good content, but you also need having a reliable platform with servers that can support heavy traffic, and the code as well. And the code must be very light for mobile versions, small mobile $20 phones, and as well on, of course, every type of configuration. And everything is a gear that is part of the system. So if you break, just the gear, a small one, it's like a watch, everything stopped, everything hangs. And it's very important to take care of all the aspects, from the basics of the small line of code of the SQL query to the look and feel and user experience.
Sure. No, I think that's super important to mention, because I know a lot of companies, and especially startups, actually still do client work, or in the same kind of boat you guys are in, where you have a company that does, work, and then you also have these projects or kind of web products or services that you offer, like MegaShouts, right? Where it's not necessarily a specific project, but it's time that you dedicate your team to on like a weekly or monthly basis, right? And I think more and more people are kind of going to that route, and then just seeing where it goes. It also makes for kind of an interesting project for your team as well. And I've found that we do some of the same kind of stuff where I work, and I found that works really well, because sometimes people get kind of bored of doing client work, and sometimes they get bored of kind of doing just like product work. So kind of having a mixture of that and having a team, you can kind of keep your people more interested, and they seem to stay with you a lot longer. And if you've had people for 10 years, that's an incredible amount of time in this industry.
Yes, it's very important, because you cannot miss anything. It's very competitive now. Everything is so competitive that you cannot go on the market with a product like, something that is visible only on iOS and maybe some kind of browser, and let's start up. You can do it, of course, if you don't have resources, but you must know that it's not enough to be competitive or to demonstrate that your idea can work.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So where do you think you're gonna go kind of in the future, and what kind of things are on the horizon for you, or any of the kind of things that you're involved in?
Yes. Well, I am really in that now at the moment. I'm really on MegaShouts. So I really think that MegaShouts, I'm sorry for saying that, but
No, it's good.
can conquest the world in the online activist market, because I think it's a very disruptive tool. So I'm very in that, and I want to change the market, and I want to improve the way everybody do the activism with this platform. So I'm very, very, very in that. I'm sorry saying that because it looks like, advertising. But when you don't have a B2B market and you have users, you cannot fake anything, because maybe you can sell something that it's not working to 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, clients. But if your clients are thousands of people, because it's a consumer market, you cannot pretend anything. Or that's a good product, or it doesn't work and you cannot. So that's the point. That's what I see for the future. Now, of course, it's very hard to choose, because I still have all these other activities. I teach in university in London and still in Milan, because I still want to have the connection with my original country. And
Sure.
because I have this kind of activities, like, this digital evangelist that is only in Italy. I'm not that kind of, I'm not well known in UK for these activities. And then the public speaker, because I like to speak in public. I have a good speech with a lot of funny things, as of course talking about the technology, communication, and marketing. So I love all these things. So I don't know what I'll do in the future. I'm really focused on MegaShouts, but I still like everything else I do.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. And I think it's nice to kind of have a bunch of different things that you're passionate about, that work on, and that, kind of keep you interested and entertained. So I totally can relate to that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yes, yes. And another thing is that if you want to be an entrepreneur in digital, you must study, and again study. And you can't study too much, because, of course, you have 18 hours if you sleep 6 hours. And what can you do? Maybe reading books is not enough, because if you read a book, it was written 6 months ago,
Totally.
and it's not actual anymore. So what to do? Maybe you can study. You can always watch videos on YouTube and TEDs and whatever, but they're already pre-eaten, because it's something that comes later. So you need to be in time, in the right place at the right time. And I think that the only way to do is to burn your fingers, like Indian says. So being in the middle of something, manage everything, and being in the center of the market. And the only way to do it is to experiment, and also having the time to rethink and put the things in line. And that's the reason why it's very important to me, university lessons, because every 6 months I have to rethink and rebuild the slide, because it's not enough my knowledge. I have to transfer this knowledge. And to transfer the knowledge, you have to be very schematic, and you have to be clear ideas of what you are doing and what you are explaining. You cannot just say, I know what to do, and maybe you know it, but you have to transfer it. So it's very important to me to put the things in line, to having everything in order. And that's the reason why university is important, speeches as well, and writing books. So that activities that don't give me much money, very, very little money, but it's important for my knowledge and for my culture, especially if I'm an entrepreneur in a very competitive market like digital.
Sure. No, I think that's really good advice, because you've obviously been in the industry for a long time, and the fact that you're still kind of trying to be on top of things and learn new things. And I think it's super important, because you're right. The second you kind of give up or stop kind of learning, you fall so far behind, and, you kind of just get ran over by, the next generation, or the people that are kind of outdoing it for you, right?
Yes, exactly. You're right.
No, that's really good advice. So, maybe let's close the show. You and I are both going to be at the Business Rocks Summit in Manchester in April, and you're a speaker. So, maybe I'll ask you a quick kind of 5 questions. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. Just say it. Sound good?
Let's try.
Perfect.
I'm not prepared, so let's see.
No, it's good. I like it. So, are you a morning or night person?
I'm a night person that is becoming a morning person because of the age.
I love that answer. I know I have a daughter, and I'm not really a night person, a morning person, but I keep getting up early and earlier, because some mornings she gets up, so I totally get that. How about coffee or tea?
Oh, tea, of course. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to be British, and I can only drink tea at the moment.
Favorite city in the world?
Sorry, say it again?
Favorite city in the world?
Oh, London.
Really?
But New York as well. So I'm in the middle. I don't know. I love New York, but I'm in
Okay.
London
Interesting.
as well. Sorry?
What or who is your biggest inspiration?
I know it looks boring. Everybody says that, but it's Steve Jobs. I'm sorry. I don't have anything cooler. But
That's not a terrible person. Yeah, no, I think that's good. He's inspired lots of people, and everybody uses his stuff every day, right? So, no,
Yes.
I think that's awesome. So maybe let's close the show kind of promoting where people can find the stuff you're doing online. Any other kind of social media links that you want to promote?
Yeah, so my social presence is on Twitter with Marco CC,
Okay.
on Facebook with my name and surname. I have an English profile, and I have, of course, a biggest Italian profile with all my videos, daily videos, because of my approach, as I said, and my audience, Italian audience only. And my website, CamisaniCalzolari.com, that just contains my biography. I made this decision a few years ago. Now I'm going to change, maybe, who knows. And my email is marco@CamisaniCalzolari.com.
Perfect. And I'll post those in the show notes. But Marco, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to meeting up with you in a couple of months.
Thank you, Kevin. Look forward to meet you in person in Manchester.
All right, man. All right. You have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the show. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com. Until next time, keep building the future.